All right, so I'd like to confirm before we start if everyone can access the board, and there's a playground area here that I created so we can drop some post-its, make sure that we can edit, and give it a try really quick before we get started. Meanwhile, I'm gonna give some accesses. People will start requesting this. If there's someone that cannot access the board, please let me know. Okay. People are joining. So there's a link in the chat. Basically, if you haven't seen it, so you can access this mirror board. It is that you can access that and make sure that you can drop post-its here in the playground area, just to make sure that you can edit. And if not, you can request access and I can give that to you. So we'll spend a couple of minutes here before we start.
Diego, can you please send again the link for Miro?
Yeah.
Because I can't see it. I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Can you see now?
Yes, I can. I don't know, Michaelis, if you can access now.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Caro. All right. So can you guys give it a try and drop some post-its here just to make sure that you're able to edit? Or yeah, I see Agustin is playing around here. I see a few more folks. I see Claudia. Ariel, good. All right. Okay, we have 25 people. We have 2 more minutes. And see Leandro there. Okay, we have people from the States here. Welcome as well. All right. Let's give 1 more minute. So for people that well, still 25, but for people that just joined, we're dropping some post-its here just to make sure that everyone can edit the board and drop your own post-its. So basically, if you can try it here, this is the playground area. If not, in 1 more minute, we'll get started. If you don't have access, please let me know. I'm looking at I see a few asking for access here. Okay, I just sent 2 more, 1 more here. If I don't see your request, guys, please let me know. Because probably I'm talking or something. All right. Okay. I think we're ready to start. I see a few people drop a few stickers there. I see some invitation requests, which already granted. So if anyone does not have access, please let me know. All right. All right, let's get started. So today we'll be talking about leadership. This is a leadership forum. We named it Anyone Can Lead. That's basically the idea. I'd like to when we finish this this call, the idea is that we all have this idea of I can lead. If we are able to succeed there, then I'm happy. So the people that will be talking here will try to collaborate on this call. We have David here. We have Viviana. We have Claudia and Alejandro, and me. So, all right. So the idea is we will be talking about 4 different topics. The first one is traits of a good leader. We'd like to understand what does it mean, or what characteristics basically a leader or a good leader has. I mean, if you think about what person you have as your role leader, what traits that person have. We'll be talking about communication, collaboration, and commitment. Before we start, I would like to play a very short video, which has a very, very low quality. So I would like to excuse me for that. But first of all, I'll give it a try. And I'll play for 5 seconds. You guys let me know if you hear it or if you don't hear it. First of all, can you see my video, my share screen here?
Yeah, we can see you.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement.
Okay, could you hear that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's get started.
Making a movement. Then let's watch a movement happen, start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out, you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not 2 nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is over-glorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
All right. First reactions. What you guys think?
It's true. It shows that something that is true. I mean, when you do something that gives some value, people will follow you, among other things.
Definitely.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
it's always
not
interesting.
about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It was interesting where the tipping point is from this guy's crazy, this is never gonna work, to I always thought this is gonna work and I was there since the beginning. It's always there's that tipping point where everybody's joining in. And yeah, it's hard to actually persevere as a leader and get to that point and not get discouraged.
Totally.
What I was going to say is that it's not important about the person itself, it's about the movement. So the leader is not about the person itself, it's about what the leader does.
It made me
Definitely.
laugh at hi there. It
No.
made me laugh at the how he opinioned about the guy that he's a nut, and when he shown the first nut to him. But the thing is that the leader or the guy that pretend to be leader or moves the people to doing the same, he's so convinced what he's doing. So he's convinced, and he has the courage to, hey man, I do that, I'm getting fun, shown with me, and the first followers add, and then others one. So how is convinced, how it defeat the things that maybe others doesn't want to be committed to do, he do it, and he invite others to be committed with the things that he's doing. So he's showing that way. So maybe it's a really good and funny example about leadership.
Yeah, he also embraces other people following him and like nourishes the group, I guess, in the beginning.
I think this video was shared with me and from a great leader I had in my career. And to me, that basically shows that anyone can really lead, right? Anyone can start that movement. Anyone can start dancing, being the nut, right? And be the first one. And then the most important one is the follower, right? Is basically who really thinks or believes that what that person is doing or saying or whatever actually makes sense and want to be part of it, right? I think that's to me the most valuable lesson from that video. All right. So the idea here today, we're gonna be talking about. We have some pretty fun questions here, which is just a template, some way to help move the discussion forward. And anyone basically can, if you are able to edit the board. I mean, I think most of us are. If not, please let us know or drop a message in the channel or whatever. I see there's a new request there, but basically the idea is that you guys can drop your own post-its about what we are talking about, and we're gonna talk about those post-its, and you can, if you want to raise your hand and talk as well, feel free to do it. The idea is that the more we collaborate, the more rich this conversation is going to be. So we really encourage you guys to really talk, and if not, just use post-its to share your ideas. All right. With that said, I'd like to drop the first question to the group, which is, if you think about the video or any other thing, really, what do you guys think it means to lead?
It means to show a way to do things and embrace others doing it and guiding them into doing it, I guess.
Yep.
Or someone else talking, you can continue.
Do you want to put the answer of your question here in the board, or just speak it?
Yeah, if you guys feel free to drop it, or I can do it. Basically, let's see how that works. Basically, or yeah, go ahead and then just try your own ideas there, so we can start building something up if you want. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So yeah, totally. What else we have? What do you think about this idea of moving towards a goal? Right. So if you have what is the role? So if you have a leader, right, what is that person trying to achieve? What is he doing? Right. What do you, if I write this, what do you think?
Can you hear me?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, I think the leader should have the right attitude to lead the team and trust the process to achieve the goal.
Oof. I'm going to take the lead here and say trust. You mentioned the word trust, and I believe that word is very, very important.
Would also say empower the followers to lead as well.
Empower people.
And
Definitely.
I would add empathy.
One idea that comes to my mind is just he has in some way a more clear idea about what he wants to achieve, but also has the possibility to convince to others that this idea is possible, and want to support everyone to achieve that goal, and wanted to make it as everyone goal, everyone achievement, not just itself. That is the difference, maybe between a boss and a leader. The leader is not owner. The leader is not only himself or herself for the goal. It makes everyone wants to achieve the goal.
So I'll say that there's like something we see in a leader, right? A person that, as is being said here, it's empowering me, right, to do something, and it's helping me achieve a goal. It's somewhat a person that is helping me with the things that I need to do, and it's, you know, doesn't have all the answers, but it leads us, it takes us toward, it builds a path, right? It gives us a path to follow, right?
Yes, the lead will be a reference to the team to follow the ideas of the leader, and the leader will help the team to achieve to the goal.
Definitely. I see motivate others here. I love that one, really.
Yeah, an inspiration for.
Sorry, Samuel, we have some noise there. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, be an inspiration for the team.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, totally. You have clear objectives. Can you speak up for that one? What does that mean? What do you guys think? I think basically in terms of objectives, so I think as a leader, we have to help when things are not clear, right? When things are fuzzy, when definitions are not really, sorry, when things are fuzzy, or we don't have enough communication from the things we have to achieve, perhaps the leader can be a connector, right? Someone that basically connects the parts, right? We need to connect the work or whatever, or the objective, not the work, the objective that we need to achieve with the team that will help achieve that goal, right? It's basically, what my understanding is, help define what that goal is, to be clear, to be simple. I think one of the things that the video states is you have to be easy to follow. Same applies to goals, right? Has to be clear definitions, have to be easy to do, so we can all achieve that goal.
Yeah, and in some way trying to, if it's not clear, because sometimes the definitions or the things that we have to do are not clear, maybe we are in a moving on an ongoing change environment that you have to move forward. So at least be someone that can help to others to achieve that goal. I mean, to help to be to set, because it's in some way also to make other ones be kind of satisfied with their work, and maybe something that is challenging in some way, just not giving all the solutions, but also give them the possibility to, okay, I will help you to give the context so you can go forward and try to solve it. Besides maybe the goal or itself, the goal itself, maybe we want to, because sometimes you are leading an operative solution, but also sometimes you have to lead another leader. So how to lead them to feel that the goal and how to feel with the definitions that you are doing or what you are trying to accomplish. And the same way trying to balance maybe all the stakeholders in the same scenario, right? Because you are managing their very different ideas, very different goals, the very different targets. So you have to be a guy that be in the middle and trying to move it forward.
It's a matter of communication, right? It's basically be able to be a good communicator.
Definitely.
Yeah, and not only for the team members, as well for the stakeholders and sponsor of the project.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're gonna I don't want to spoil this, but we're gonna talk about communication, and I think that is kind of key. Definitely. Well, we'll get there. What do you think about, before we move into, because people are adding on all things, and I really appreciate that. What do you think about trust? Right? Because, I mean, what happens if there's no trust?
No one will follow you.
No followers.
And how it's built? How do you build trust?
With time, the most.
Transparency.
Yeah, transparency. Yeah.
Oh, love it. Yeah.
Good communication.
Walk to walk and talk to talk. You got to actually do what you're saying you're going to do and actually mean what you're saying.
Yeah, being coherent, right? Between you, what you said, what you do. Yeah.
I think that trust is one of the fundamental pieces of leadership, right? And sometimes it's very easy to, it's so hard to build and so easy to be lost. And I think it helps good communication, honesty, right? Be there for the people when things are good and bad, both situations, right? And just be transparent, as you guys said, right? Basically, I think what it helps is telling the people that, yeah, this is where we want to go and things are doing bad, but not because of us, it's because the context or whatever, but be there for the people, right? When you basically, I think that people start caring more when you feel that you care a lot. So if I feel that a leader cares, I will care, right? It's like another way of following, I think. That's why trust is so important. It has to be like also connected with this lead by example, I think, right? Basically you want to, this is a hard discussion, but leading by example might be you do the things, you solve the problems, but that's not the case, right? It's basically you take the initiative and on something, right? And you show the path. You basically show how things might be done, although it might not be the right way, and be able to adapt and shift into something better, right? But it's not only, to me, showing that, not showing the path, but also adapt, right? Be able to say, hey, I think this is the way, but if you guys think it's different, please let us know, because I think that that's the part of, that's important, right? It's like the path is built, it's built by the team, not only by the leader, right? The leader just helps, I think.
If you look at kind of servant leadership, the main premise there is that everybody can be a leader. And that doesn't mean you're a manager. Manager and leader are two different, completely different roles. A leader can be somebody that's at the lowest level. That doesn't mean that they're higher up in the hierarchy. They're just one that took the initiative and, again, maybe has the trust, maybe just has a good idea, but empowering other people to kind of help solve the problem.
Do a leader have to have all the answers to all the questions?
Not all the
No.
answers, but some, some
No.
objectives and some of the,
No.
yeah, go ahead.
He should know the way, I guess, like where he wants to go, and like the team should create the answers, I guess. That's why the team is there.
But should have some answers, at least some answers on how to conduct the team, right? And what the procedures and what to do.
Yeah, it's a difficult discussion, I think, because if you think about technical path, right, technical leadership, somewhat, you know, I see that as somewhat as mentoring, right? You are somewhat, you know, helping someone else, which probably have some different experiences, right, achieve some goal. But it doesn't mean that you have all the answers, right? I think personally that you can find out the answer together. You can find out the answers with the team, right? You might be able to push hard to achieve goals, which is a different thing, right? Although you might not know where we are going, you might push to figure it out, right? And perhaps the team can ask, hey, where are we going? Oh, I have no clue, but I'm gonna do my best to try to figure it out, right? Try to find it out, which is a different story, right? That's why I wanted to raise the question.
I'm reading an interesting book that's called Who Not How, which talks exactly about that. We're conditioned by media and school to actually think of how to achieve things instead of who can help you achieve what you need to achieve. You don't need to have all the answers or all the experience, but you need to figure out who else can help. And I think that's a big part of leadership, trying to bring in the right people on the bus, not necessarily having all the answers, even the technical expertise. You can be a janitor and be a leader in something that is not related even remotely to your job.
Interesting, definitely.
Yes, and I think it's also the attitude. If you want to find the answer and look for people that maybe knows the answers. I don't think you have to have all the answers as a leader, but you have the attitude to find them, to look for the answers.
I think there is no need to have all the answers, but probably ask most of the questions. I mean, try to at least not get stuck without a question, without something to research. I think that is most important than have all the answers. The answers can be found in the team, but a leader, in most of the cases, have many questions to start.
And this is another example that anyone can lead, right? It's to me, it's basically fundamentally different to have an answer from a technical perspective, which might happen, right? And again, it's more like mentoring in some areas than being able to push for answers. I think anyone can push for answers. Doesn't have to be a leader. Doesn't have to be the leader, but anyone can take that lead and moving forward, right? It's like anyone can take ownership of trying to figure out the answer to a question without having to rely on a specific person. I think that's basically the fundamental difference. And that's why we like to say that anyone can take the lead on that one. Anyone can take ownership on that one. I think it's a fundamental difference.
Yeah, and the thing is maybe that one thing that I think is important is to be aware that assuming the leadership, because sometimes you have to, and if you want to assume or being in that position, you also have to be in some way aware that you should be the, or you need to be the buffer for the rest of the team in some way. Be the buffer for the pressure, the buffer for the unknown situations, the having the emotional intelligence to manage all the maybe the frustration, the sadness, the maybe the angry, or someone that is the sometimes that maybe for some reason the lack of results, or trying to show results in the sense of protect the team and trying to accomplish the things. And maybe the idea is to, it comes to my mind a lot, the idea of buffer, but the buffer in the sense, okay, I will try to make it easier because everyone will work, or may be better for everyone to accomplish the result if everyone is suffering less pressure, and maybe I am a step forward from anyone to trying to solve the issues, to move it forward. It's important, in my opinion.
And you mentioned, and with this one, I think we can move on to communication, but I think you mentioned emotional intelligence, right? And I think Claudia mentioned empathy at the beginning, and I think it are crucial things. Sometimes there's a lot of frustration, expressed from customers, and it's basically that buffer, I think, helps the team a lot. And it's bad to have to work in a context where everything is frustration. So we tend to try to solve that instead of having to be a buffer, right? But in those kind of situations where there's a lot of crisis, or there's some problems in the thing that you're trying to achieve, right? Being the buffer, I think it's a very important piece. Yeah, totally. All right. With this, I think we have talked a lot about traits of a good leader. I think we have a lot of things here, although we have to probably, there's a lot of words, but perhaps not so many traits, but I think it's a very important discussion to understand what we're looking to see in a leader, right? I'd like to shift gears into communication. I basically put communication directly as a first main topic because I think that communication is key and is one of the most important topics that where a leader can help, right? If you have problems in communication, I have seen this so many times, things fail, right? Or in the short term, in the medium term, or long term, things fail because someone is not understanding. Some people are not being able to talk. If you have noise in the middle, you cannot talk, right? So what do you guys think is the role of the leader in communication?
I think it can be like an articulator, someone that can negotiate, someone that can understand different perspectives, and sometimes it has to negotiate between the team and the stakeholders or different objectives or goals. And it's important to have good skills to negotiate and understand all the pieces and balance the decisions, or take the best option for all the parts, all the pieces.
I think one important area there is the ability to say no. And be able to fundament why.
Yeah, but in some way, it's maybe it's an ability to say no, but it's maybe the best ability is to say no without saying no. I mean, it's more important is learning about the way of saying no without saying no. Is the ability to find maybe paths where there is no path, and there is trying to move the things to try. Well, you got a gun against your head, and well, how I taking the gun out, well, propose something, run away. There are a lot of possibilities, but try to find out the way to just not get the shot. So maybe you have to be aware and try to think, maybe an ability to think out of the box when the problem arises. This is something that is important. And again, emotional intelligence is about trying to find out that way, because you have to be prepared and trying to maybe something that I saw that is important is learn how to be in silence where is needed, because silence is maybe sometimes more important than talking.
For sure.
And how the lead communicate to the team the information, but to the team receive the information with a good ideas and like to continue ahead to the objectives and be motivated. The team, I think, the lead will motivate the team to feel good with the other members of the team and with the job that he did.
Definitely. How would we define that? Is that like, again, going back to empathy, or is more like, I mean, I guess what Ale is saying is basically there's a communication that the leader has to do in order to keep everyone, inspired, motivated, and looking forward to all continue to achieve the goals. That I think that's definitely role of the leader. But is that a characteristic? How would that be defined? I cannot think about a word.
I think that it has to talk clearly and also with respect for the others.
Sure.
It's being assertive. I mean, communicate clearly is sometimes a challenge, because maybe you have to be enough assertive to make everyone with idea clear, but at the same time open for listen, and maybe you are trying to find out kind of consensus in the sense of the ideas that we are trying to or the goals that we are trying to reach, because everyone wants to be convinced about the things that we are going to do. Maybe the business or technologically we are doing sometimes that we are there aren't so many paths to take, but sometimes but when this situation arises, it's clear that the leader needs to show the path, but also needs to try to find out which would be the trade-off between each path, and trying to bring clarity or try to obtain clarity about the decision, because it's always about a kind of choosing a path. So and everyone will be there to follow you in the path, and when the things comes ugly, because you can do a mistake, try to how get people on the board when the things are not getting funny. So you have to be to find out how to, besides you have to be the buffer if you are the leader, but also it's better if you have a team behind your backs that you are supporting you and trying to, well, we will move forward, we will try to find out the solution if we made a mistake. So it's about trust, as you mentioned before. It's about how to make followers is important.
I would also say to have clear communication channels, like to avoid other sides' communications, to avoid a bad environment, because chatting and gossip is not good, and that enforcement the trust as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Also-
Also, he has to like guide the team, the conversation of the team, like not be the one talking, but guiding, making sure it doesn't like stray away from the goal, I guess, the goal or where you want to go, or into gossip.
Definitely.
Not sure if somebody mentioned this because my connection dropped for a second, but also taking the time to explain to the team why, the reasons why you're going in a certain direction, or why it's important to do something, whether it's a business decision, whether it's a client requirement. It's not just, you know, so and have engages to those decisions.
Dear Lord, why is so important? There's a guy called Simon Sinek. He has a book about starting with why, and
Yes.
he describes why it is so important to start with why. Basically, understand the reasons behind the things that we are doing. Sometimes we experience like shifting from one place to another, like going from back and forth without, you know, doing things and changing gears and you know, without anyone to say, okay, this is the path, this is the vision, this is where we want to go, right? And this is the impact. This I feel like so many times we are not told the impact that we are doing with the things that we are doing, right? And I think it's so important to understand the impact, the why are you doing this? Who are we affecting? Who are we helping with the thing that I am doing, right? And sometimes it's just, yeah, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. Okay, stop, right? Tell me why, explain why. It's so important.
I also think it's important that a leader will be a good listener and ask to the team. And as David said, when the silence is necessary, also use that. And I would also expect, to be honest, even when the leader doesn't know about something or about where the things are going.
It's about clarity, right? It's about like knowing, you know, being honest, being clear, being, you know, things are, I have no clue. I mean, I think it's perfect for if you hear anyone, not just a leader, right? Just to say, I have no clue, right? And it's fine, but let's figure it out, right? I have no clue. I cannot be blamed for not knowing, right? But let's figure it out. Let's push to get to understand what we're looking for. Let's push to understand how to achieve this goal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's no good if a leader makes something up to tell us when he doesn't really know. And I also expect, or I think a leader should be polite when there is something wrong with the client or with the team. That's also a key.
Empathy.
Empathy, exactly.
So hard. Totally.
Yeah, going back to a little bit about the good traits of a communicator, you have to create a safe environment so you can actually have an open communication. When the environment is not conducive to people speaking up for whatever reason, maybe retaliation, maybe they're a little shy or just got burned in the past by speaking up, you need to create a safe environment so you can actually have a open communication.
Talking about the difficult conversations. I heard recently that we are taught so many things. We're taught maths, we're taught anything in school, but no one really teach us basically how to have difficult conversations with people, right? It's like, yeah, whatever. And we should be able to create a safe environment for people to say, yeah, whatever you're saying is just fine. It's totally okay. We need to know what's going on. We need to know what's going on in order to fix it, right? All together as a team. And that safe environment is crucial. It's basically what retrospectives are for. And
but And people assume that safe environment means environment free of conflict. Conflict is where you find resolutions, not arguments. Argument is a different point. You just need to be right. Where conflict is just that uncomfortable conversation, as you mentioned.
Yeah. And this relates to feedback, I think, somewhat, right? That's another topic that is so hard. I haven't put it in the questions here, but just came up to my mind. So hard to give and receive feedback, good feedback, valuable feedback, right? It's easy to tell someone what's wrong. I mean, that's very easy, right? But what is not really easy is to say something that the person that is hearing what you're saying basically can get something valuable out of that conversation, right? That's a real hard thing. And I think that sometimes within this safe environment, the idea is that you foster a place where you can say something and the other person says, thanks, he's not trying to hurt me, he's just trying to help me, right? I think that happens a lot in feedback or even in, I don't know, pull requests, for example. How many times we have heard like, oh, this person is just trying to blame me for doing this or that, right? It's just, perhaps it's not, perhaps it's just trying to help me, right? The safe environment idea is, it applies in every single context, and it's so important.
Yeah, no violence communication. Talk a lot about that, because it's maybe something that is important. It just is besides the leadership. It's important to try to be focused on the objective things, not just trying to do in the less judgments as possible, because it take out maybe the bias about the things. If you are talking about to try to focus into the real things and not in the people and being so in that point, being very assertive on that way, will achieve that the other person, we are discussing things, goals, and not discussing maybe behaviors or things that maybe start to be blurred. So from there we can build something to build the feedback, because something that you get the results in some way that are measurable, or something that is measurable, you can talk about something that talking about really a feedback. Maybe there are things that maybe can produce, always manage the relation between people, always is difficult too as well. So, but the thing is trying to find a way to avoid judgments is the idea.
And especially in this multicultural reality that we have now, because we are working with people all around the world, and we can say things that for me are very clear, but maybe for others it's not that clear, or maybe what I'm saying can hurt another person. So I think it's very important to put some focus on what we say and how we say what we want.
Yeah, one of the posts here is be aware of cultural differences. I wonder how do we work on that area, right? How can we be aware? How can a leader be aware and help? What do you think?
I think that usually when you talk with someone, it's a good idea to just to observe the other person, not only talk, but have some feedback from his face, or how he's replying or not, and maybe if you start feeling that something is not going well, ask and also say, okay, I didn't mean that. I wanted to say this other thing, and try to explain in another way, maybe, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Also take the time to get to know the team a little bit more than just, project or if the person is open, of course, into a personal level as well.
I like that.
Hey, Diego, I got a challenge for you. Since we're talking about open communication and a safe environment to talk, there's 25 people on the call and it's the same 6 people responding. How do you get everybody else to respond, or at least half the people? You're the leader of this talk.
That is a great challenge. I think that a couple of things there, right? It's like when you have people with camera or without camera, right? It's like some people will not talk. Some people just, and it's fine. They just don't feel safe. So we need to talk about safety. They don't think that they can provide additional information. We need to work on that area as well, right? I think that is something that practices, right? You can practice that. You can practice with smaller groups, because bigger groups are harder. But let's say you have a small group, typically a group of 3, everyone has to talk, right? I mean, because if not, the third person is like, he's going to be there watching how the other 2 people are talking, right? So start small. We have big groups here. Sometimes it's just bigger conversations. It's just harder for everyone to participate, which is understandable. But yeah, I think that creating that safe environment, that place where anyone can talk, that and trying to, letting the people know that every opinion is fine. Anything that you can say is fine. And then if they decide not to talk, that's totally fine too, right? They don't have to talk. They can talk if they want. So I think we need to shift. I think sometimes I feel like I should need to shift the idea of everyone has to talk to anyone can talk if they want, right? That's why, for example, here we are just opening the space, like post-its, raising the hands, camera, no camera, talk out loud or not. It's like whatever you want. That's how I handle that in the past, and I think that works. What do you think?
Yes, talking about that, I think Leonardo Herrero is trying to say something, but he's not being able. I don't know. He wrote in the chat.
I apologize. I'm not following the chat at the moment, but
no, but I understand the people who stayed quiet and stay listening. And in fact, of course, I encourage everyone to give our opinion, but I think that sometimes when you are maybe starting in your career, or maybe you are in the middle of your career and trying to find out where I should go with my career and trying to think, okay, I start to think about leadership. I have enough experience. I have to think about that. It might be my situation to be a leader or not, to be in the situation to take the next step or the farther mile to become myself a leader. So maybe the people are here to listen answers. Of course, I am here to listen answers as well, because I still need to learn, and still need to, for sure, I still need to listen everybody, and still to find out what it means to be a good leader, or what it means to be a good, at the end of the day, being a good leader is being a good person in some way, because you are trying to help everyone. Maybe it's not, I mean, maybe sometimes you see like leadership or something like you are a success. And maybe it's not the way. Maybe it's someone that's available to suffer more instead to try to everyone be more happy. So in some way, it's kind of hard decision to lead something, because you are available to doing something more than others to help everyone. So for sure, it's okay to everyone if they want to talk, and it's okay to everyone to give our opinion, because for sure I would like to hear everyone to talk and what they feel, so what they feel about bad experience, about bad leaders, because in some way with a bad example we learn about what not to do. So we have the way that, well, okay, I don't know how to be a good leader or what a good leader is, but this guy I don't want to be. So, okay, that is a good point. It is a good point, start point.
Yes, I think a good point that you mentioned, David, is that the lead will accept the job responsibility and knows about the personal life of the team. And this helps the lead to generate a good environment because the trust and the confidence of the team increments when the lead involves something into the personal life of the people of the team. If the people of the team are open to this, because someone will not be open to access to your personal life.
Yeah, and I think that, so sorry, go ahead, Diego.
No, go ahead.
No, I was thinking that maybe I was thinking that my idea about being a good leader, being a good person, it's about your principles, okay? It's about, it's always about what it means to be a good leader, because in some way you have to take hard decisions, or maybe, so I am still convinced that the better or the deeper, better solutions is under consensus, about trying to find out in some way the way to find out consensus. But anyway, there are pressures, there are things that it's about principles. Where do you want to be in the thing, in the sense of making decisions to move forward? But it's difficult. It's difficult.
Definitely is. All right. I have one more question. And is there in the board? There's a lot of times that there are a lot of times that we just don't know what's going on, right? Just don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I should mention this, but people in Argentina are kind of used to that. And it's actually bad. What do we do as leaders there? I mean, what is it that we need to do? We need to push for answers. We need to, what happens with uncertainty? What happens when everything goes wrong in a place that we're trying, let's say we're working in somewhere, we're working in a client, right? Like we all do, right? And you see how everyone, people are getting fired, people just don't know what's going on. You're starting to be in more like a survival mode. Like I'm scared because I'm not sure if my job is gonna be there tomorrow, for example, right? Me personally, I went through that. So the situation was handled very bad in the past. So what is a good way to deal with that? What is a good way for a leader to help dealing with that level of uncertainty within teams? What do you think?
I think apart from the leader, we need to realize that the way we do work, which is working with uncertainty and constant changing environment and requirements, because this is what software development is, to actually link it to your personal life. Because you don't freak out when your environment changes and you get all these new requirements from your client, but in your personal life, we can't seem to be able to approach it in the same way. I mean, the stakes are higher, given you have to support your family and everything, but if you take it with the same resolve and calm and act the same way you would do with changing environment at work, I think people will be better off if they make the connection that we already do this at our professional life. We shouldn't freak out when we lose our job or the client goes under or whatever else happens.
Absolutely. What else?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it was some issue with my headphones.
No worries.
Yeah, actually I didn't remember what what I said before, but it was some thoughts about what you were talking.
No worries. Yeah, we were talking about how to deal with uncertainty in context where things
Yeah.
are getting volatile so fast, and you don't know if sometimes you just don't know even if your work is if your job is gonna be there tomorrow. Like have that you are in a survival mode. You see people getting fired. You see things are not clear, objectives are not clear anymore. You're shifting from years prior to this. All that situation where that you might see. I mean, if you work in startups, that happens a lot. That is kind of the question that I brought to the table.
Yeah, I guess that just try to be as calm as possible and help others to be the same way, right?
Yeah, being calm is definitely important. Not to freak out. Totally. All right. What else we got? What questions, guys, do you have? I heard one question from David there, talking about what was the question? Actually, I forgot. No worries. I remember a question, but I forgot. Anyways, what other questions do you guys have? What topics you think are important in communication they would like to bring to the table? If any.
I have an observation more than a question, but just me immigrating to the US, now working with a company in South America and just trying to kind of wrap my head around of how communication's changing, and it's so global right now because I have friends back home that have never left the country but know a lot about US culture, for example. I think we should feel lucky that we have all this technology and the way we can actually communicate and be more open to different cultures. And there's still countries that support this, like China, for example. They very much censor media, but you can talk to people and communicate and learn about different cultures without leaving your couch or your desk. And I think we should feel lucky that we can travel and experience other cultures without actually being able to afford it sometimes. It's pretty cool time to live in because yeah, that's available now.
Which kind of sets the stage for another topic that I want to bring into this conversation, which is collaboration. I'd like to stop here. How are you guys doing? Are we all comfortable? Would like to continue? Would like to stop here? I'd like to bring one more topic about collaboration, but it's up to you. We are good?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. This idea of collaboration, and I guess we brought questions before, like how we can make people, why people don't talk, right? And this idea of knowing other cultures, understanding how we can interact with other cultures. How can leaders help foster that collaboration? How we can help people do more or be more or be the best in the teams, right? So how we can help that collaboration happen within teams or with other teams or with other teams, with other people, with other cultures, right? What can the leader do to foster that collaboration? What do you think?
Put together events like this one?
Why?
I don't know why in that question especially, but letting people take some work and take a little bit of ownership usually leads them to either look for answers, become their own leader and look for answers within the team or even outside the team. And that fosters collaboration. It's not just you giving them tasks, it's them looking for their own help and their own answers.
So delegation.
Yeah.
Yeah, putting together events like this one where you can work with people that, or just talk to people that normally you wouldn't work with because you either don't cross paths on a project or you're physically not in the same location.
For example, what other kind of meetings, like, you know, let's say like this, right? What you would like to see? And this is a great point that you're bringing up, because we can get a lot of information out of this call. So what you guys would like to see in terms of collaboration? So let's say we talk about other meetings, right? So what kind of meetings? What would you like to see? What do you think can be valuable for people, and in order to make them, you know, collaborate more, talk more, participate more, be present, all those kind of things?
In companies I work for, I've seen both, well, sync ups tend to work because, you know, once people talk about what they're doing, other people like pitch in and go, hey, I did something similar, I'm working on something like that. Boom, instant collaboration, the obvious way. The other one is actually coffee chats have worked pretty well. Just pair people at random to talk like 5 minutes a day. Sometimes just talking about anything. And sometimes you actually end up talking about work.
Sure.
I agree that having those kind of calls or meetings where you talk about anything but work can help, because people feels more relaxed, and you start getting to know the team and the other persons.
Love it.
Yes, I am agree with Claudia and Ignacio with this. The meetings without some topics and to talk and know better the people.
Something we did with my client is we did the 5-for-5. Is 5 slides in 5 minutes. So you have 1 minute per slide, and you present anything about your life. It can be your pet, it can be some sport that you practice, your hobbies, anything, and you have 5 minutes to talk about you and present you to the rest of the team.
Let me make it a little bit more specific. And this was not my original idea, but I'd like to hear more. So we have people from the States here, right? And we have people from Latin America, right? How can we collaborate more? How can we, you know, let's say, you know, you just mentioned like generate events like this, you know, generate meetings. Like how we can take the lead on that, right? Or who has to take the lead on that? It's like individual people like being the bright spots and just raising the hand, say, hey, I would like to talk about something. Or do you think there has to be like a person that takes the lead and say, hey, let's build something and start grabbing people, right, to help achieve that goal?
I think a good idea is to actually have somebody from the States travel to Argentina, and the other way around, maybe have the opportunity to either go for a business trip or just have vacation in Argentina and meet somebody over there and just hang out, because when you hang out after work, you achieve all that personal communication, you find out more about people. I know it's not maybe something as easy to do nowadays, but it's just an idea, kind of have an exchange program in a sense.
Totally.
Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, it's something that maybe with a remote situation that everyone have or get with the pandemic, make the things more isolated between each other, and maybe make sense to at least maybe having the opportunity once a year to meet each other. So I know that several companies do that. That's maybe it's a budget, right? It's not quite easy to say, okay, move here to Argentina or move here to States, because it's a budget and we are a bunch of people. So in our case, maybe in Copio's situation, it's a little bit more complicated. But anyway, the way to to understand a culture is live the culture. You're not you're it's not you have to be there to just knowing, okay, how maybe an American guy thinks about something, and how an Argentine guy or Argentinian guy thinks about, okay, I think about maybe people or meetings or whatever. So it's I agree with Mylan that meet each other's and not only working, just maybe interacting out of work, build trust. Team bonding or team building is something that also helps to build trust and build communication.
I think the unstructured chats would probably help because I was recently in the US, but because I know almost no one within the company, all of my teammates are in Seattle, and I didn't happen to go to Seattle, so I ended up not meeting with anyone because I didn't know anyone in any of the cities I visited. So yeah, having known a few more people in the US would have probably helped.
One thing I'm hearing is that in all the things that you guys said is basically being in presence is better than virtual, and fosters that collaboration in so many ways, different ways than the ways we daily achieve. But we are also immersed in a culture of virtuality, right? I mean, that's how companies grow, I think, in terms of adding different time zones to the company. Is there any way that we can bridge that gap between the impossibility of being present versus the reality of virtuality? Is this
Well, what we talked about earlier with maybe even having a vacation in the country, not going for work. Now, when you're virtual and you can work remote, you can actually go and live there for 2 weeks and still work. And that's the opportunity you get with working remote that you couldn't before. For example, right now I'm going to visit family for 3.5 months. I'm not saving up all my vacation. I'll be working from there, but I can just as easily come to Argentina and work for 3 weeks or a month just to meet more people and immerse myself in the culture. And the company is fine with that because they don't care where we work from as long as we get the work done. So it's that a double-edged sword where you don't have the personal communication, but then you can easily achieve it for yourself.
Totally. Let's talk about companies, right? Let's talk about companies where you have like multiple teams. Let's say we don't have the possibility to of course we'd be lovely to be able to travel, but the more normal thing is we are not, right? Because of budget, like David said, because of whatever time restrictions or so on. How we can foster a cross-team collaboration, right? So one of the things that we talked about is like coffee chats, right? Another thing could be like, how can we get people more involved in what other people are doing? I think that's what I see lacking currently, right? We see that sometimes we're just, in solos or in aisles of, we are, our own project, and we're just caring about the things that we're currently working on, but we're not collaborating with other people within the company or within the other sometimes within the project itself. And that goes on. And sometimes, and then you hear, this is my personal experience, you hear leadership saying people are in solos or people are in aisles. So what have you done to help with that, right? You're just like complaining about something you haven't do anything about it. So the question is, how can leaders help foster that interaction, that, not only talk to people, but also get really interested, and perhaps why not help other people and other teams with the things that they're doing. And perhaps, this idea of the sum of the parts, right? Perhaps we can build something even better. Any thoughts?
I don't know if I get the point, but probably to just ask people to be part of what you want them to be part. I mean, in my case, I noticed that as a team here in Argentina, we are not part of important meetings related to the roadmap of the project. And I'm pretty sure we could really collaborate on those meetings and do things better if we are part of those meetings, but that didn't happen. So it's just as a leader, it's more like a management decision, I think. But you have to make the whole team being part of the project if you want them to really collaborate, right? So that's it.
That's so important, right? I mean, if you're not making not making me part of whatever you're trying to build, how do you want me to take ownership of things?
Exactly.
It's like I just don't care, right? Definitely, so important. What else?
I think bringing in personal life into work has kind of been a no-no for so long, and now we're to the point that we realize we can actually do it safely. Having a platform where people can talk together about things that they like to do for work. For example, when I was in Microsoft, I joined the climbing group and finally found a partner after years for looking for somebody that I can go rock climbing with. Or whatever you're into, there's at least one more person that is, if not doing it actively, at least interested that maybe you can do things together that are your hobbies. But you have to have some sort of a platform mailing list, wherever it is, so you can actually talk to people.
I put it as find common interests. I think that's a great entry point for collaborating with other people that just don't know.
Yes, and I think it's not only the leader task, it's more for all the company or different part of the company that will do this part, because the leader of one team can do something in his team, but not in all the company. It's more difficult.
What a topic you bring to the table, Ale. I think it is a two-way thing, right? It's like, I don't know what you guys think, but I think that culture is built by the people, right?
Yes.
But also the company has to provide the context for that culture to be built. So if you don't let people collaborate, how will them collaborate, right? If you propose something, if you help someone do things they want to do, perhaps more people will, like the video we saw at the beginning, right? If you let one person dance, then perhaps you can have followers, have more people showing up, right? So yeah, I think that's a very important topic. Totally. Okay.
I think that also proposing like cross-team meetups or something that where you can understand what other teams are doing. Maybe not all the company, but some leaders or some managers from different teams having conversations and explaining what each one is doing. That can also help. And maybe if I find that another team is doing something similar or something that can affect my project or something that I can get some help from them, maybe I can ask and have a meeting specific with that team. But having a cross-team communication, I think it's very important in the company. Of course, it depends on the size of the company, but with medium companies can work.
Yeah. I have experienced those meetings before, and it's always the same thing. It's great to have the meeting, and then how come, but it doesn't, I think it starts with the meeting, but then you also have to facilitate the meeting, right? And then it basically turns into a question of how much the people wants to collaborate. Sometimes the people in the meeting is just like, yeah, I go to the meeting and then I'm still caring about my own thing. And then, how can you help me? And instead of how can I help you? The facilitation of that meeting is also very important, right? How the idea is basically that everyone should want to collaborate. And that's the hardest part to build within those meetings. So that's so important, both to have the meeting and to be able to be genuinely interested in collaborating across teams. It's the motivation that people have, I think.
Yes, of course. It shouldn't be just another meeting because
exactly. It shouldn't be
people won't go. Yes.
Exactly. That's my point. Yeah.
Maybe like not a blog, but more of a Wikipedia page or whatever you want to call it, where people post solutions and answers. I think that might be something useful because then it doesn't happen at the same time. It can be asynchronous, and also the people that are shy to ask for help or actually are shy to give help but have great ideas can always help. I've seen a lot of posts online that kind of link to another post and like, hey, here's the solution you were looking for. You just didn't find it. But that might be something useful, especially when it comes to software development. It naturally grows out there. Maybe you can have something like that as a company where we put things together and learn from our previous experience, because people also leave. And if you don't collect that tribal knowledge, you end up repeating the same thing over and over again.
How many people love documenting?
I do, but I'm a project manager. I'm messed up anyways.
Not many, I guess.
Right? How many people like reading documentation? Like especially if you're just starting the company, like onboarding documentation, for example, like where do I start? What the hell is this?
Yeah, same thing.
I mean, somewhat depends, right? I mean, I think me personally, I'm a big consumer of sometimes documentation, right? In terms of, yeah, I would like to see what's there, how's this build, how this interact, how these components interact, whatever, right? Sometimes we ask for documentation, but we just don't generate documentation, right? It's like we just don't do it, right? But documentation is a great way for collaborating, but then you have to talk about the audience, who's going to receive, who's going to read that documentation, right? That's why just documentation gets duplicated, right? It's just never read by anyone. Just a way to maintain it. Anyways, documentation is a great topic. It's a very complex one as well. But it's another.
I think the problem there is that documentation is never part of the requirement. It's always an afterthought. So if you actually set, let's say 15 minutes a day to work on what you did today and actually document it, and that's part of your full workload today, it's a different story than, oh shit, I worked for 8 hours. I don't have time to do documentation. I'll do it tomorrow. It's kind of the same thing when it comes to in manufacturing. Maintenance is always an afterthought and never planned for. And kind of the same thing. If you plan for your documentation as part of your workflow and what you need to do for the day, then it would actually get done. You need to allocate time for it.
Yeah, I put it this way: document things that people will actually want to read. All right. We're almost closing up, I think. We're about time, 5 minutes. We haven't really achieved the commitment part, which I was kind of expected originally. So we can do that perhaps in a different conversation. Anyone would like to add any additional final thoughts to this overall topic?
So if you guys hadn't caught this, I'm planning on coming to vacation in Argentina and need some hosts.
Yeah, if you come to Córdoba, you're welcome here.
Yes, I am from Córdoba too. You're from Leandro.
You're going
Yeah,
from
my wife and I want to go to South America, and I think Argentina is a good first stop.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to cross the river, I'm in Uruguay, so let me know.
Sounds good. Brazil is on my bucket list too. So we might make a longer trip out of it.
Nice. All right. Was this helpful for you guys?
Really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. Very interesting topic.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a great talk.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay, I'd like to thank you all for the participation. And hopefully we can continue this conversation more in the future, but really open to having more talks about this whenever you guys want. So thank you all.
Thank you, Diego.
Thank you.
Diego.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.